Covering more than 270 acres on the south side of Hartford, Cedar Hill Cemetery represents much more than a final resting place for the deceased. It's also intended to satisfy the needs of the living, says Cedar Hill volunteer Doris Griffith.
This is a rural cemetery, which means that it's set back from the center of town, that it's a rolling park-like setting.
When Cedar Hill was established in 1864, a rural cemetery was seen as a vast temple where the visitor senses the eminence of God in nature. Today, more than 32,000 people are interred here, including some whose accomplishments were felt around the country and the world. Let's take a brief tour. Dr. Horace Wells was a Hartford dentist in the 1840s. Posthumously, he was recognized as the discoverer of anesthesia. One night in New York City, after self-experimenting with chloroform, Wells was arrested for throwing acid on prostitutes in the street. After realizing what he had done, he managed to secure some items from home, including chloroform and a razor blade, before going to jail.
He took a last hit of chloroform, severed a major artery in his leg, bled to death. He was 33 years
old. Isabella Beecher Hooker married lawyer John Hooker. One day she read in his law books that once women were married, they were seen as possessions and could own nothing. Civil law also gave a husband the same authority over his wife as he had over his apprentices and children, including whipping. Isabella found this quite disturbing and fought for women's rights for the next 50 years with her husband's support. In 1871, she spearheaded a convention in Washington, D.C. to present a constitutional amendment for suffrage before Congress. Founder of the Hartford Evening Post, Gideon Wells was an avid supporter of Abraham Lincoln. When Lincoln became president, he named Wells his Secretary of the Navy.
Well, Abraham Lincoln called him my Neptune. He really took the Navy and made something of it.
The Navy was in complete disarray when Wells took office. He's credited with implementing some of the founding principles upon which the Navy still functions today. During his tenure, he and his wife became quite close to the Lincoln family, and Wells was in the room with the president as he lay dying from his gunshot wound suffered at Ford's Theater. Samuel Colt is best known for inventing the multi-round revolver, the gun that won the West. After establishing Colt Manufacturing in Hartford in 1847, Samuel married Elizabeth Colt in 1856. He died just 6 years later at the age of 47. The Colt family memorial, standing 38 feet tall and made of pink Scottish granite, has a famous figure at the very top.
That's the angel Gabriel. And Gabriel toured the United States before he came to rest on top of the monument.
Samuel Colt was also a colonel in the Civil War. When Griffin Alexander Stedman found out that the famous inventor was raising an infantry regiment, he joined the command. The names of the many battles in which Stedman fought adorn his tomb, an elaborately carved sarcophagus of military design. In 1864, at the Battle of Petersburg, he was struck in the stomach by a bullet.
As he lay dying, Stedman received word that he had been promoted to general.
Stedman was 26 years old. On the base of the tomb is the inscription, "Brave, just, generous, and pure, without fear and without reproach." J.P. Morgan Chase & Company is a multinational banking corporation. The J.P. Morgan in the name comes from Hartford's own John Pierpont Morgan, born in the city in 1837. The most powerful American banker of his time, J.P. Morgan had an incredible ability to take over floundering organizations and make them profitable, a process that came to be known as Morganization. Morgan financially rescued the federal government twice.
In 1895, President Grover Cleveland asked him for a loan to keep the federal government running. And he loaned through Wall Street, he arranged it through Wall Street, a loan of $65 million in gold to the federal government.
When he died in 1913, Morgan was worth an estimated $68 million, which today would be nearly $1.5 billion. Cedar Hill's most famous female resident achieved such wide acclaim that many fans feel they know her. The star of 44 feature films, legendary actress Katharine Hepburn was born in Hartford in 1907. Katharine hit it big with her first movie, The Philadelphia Story, but it was 1942's Woman of the Year that sparked the beginning of her chemistry with another silver screen celebrity.
And a few years before she died, she brought in to the office a photograph of Spencer Tracy and requested that when she was cremated, this photograph would be with her. So there are just a few ashes of Spencer Tracy along with Katharine.
Katharine Hepburn died at age 96 at her home in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. As you can see, Cedar Hill is filled with an assortment of notable residents. Why not spend a couple hours visiting this historic gem on Hartford's South End? In 1864, it was designed for the living as a vast temple to the transcendent being where the visitor senses the eminence of God in nature. Come find out what you experience nearly 150 years later.